In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Come, Holy Spirit, fill the hearts of thy faithful, and enkindle in them the fire of thy love. Send forth thy Spirit, and they shall be created, and thou shalt renew the face of the earth. Let us pray. O God, who didst instruct the hearts of thy faithful by the light of the Holy Spirit, grant us in that same Spirit to be truly wise, and ever to rejoice in his consolation, through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Okay, as you all know, today we have with us a very special guest who visited our campus for the first time just this past Tuesday afternoon. Like many others, he was drawn to the college by the sight of the chapel's bell tower from Highway 150. After a short tour and visit, he graciously agreed to return to the campus today to share with us his thoughts about the dramatic arts. We are therefore delighted to welcome Sir Anthony Hopkins to the college this afternoon. Over his long career, Sir Anthony has played a wide variety of characters on stage and screen, among them a king and a president, a butler and a rare books vendor, a naval captain, a psychiatrist, and an exorcist. He has been nominated for and received numerous awards, including an Oscar for his role as the deeply vicious serial killer Hannibal Lecter, and the BAFTA Award from the British Academy of Film and Television Arts for his part as Pierre in a highly acclaimed BBC production of Tolstoy's War and Peace. Born in Wales, Sir Anthony graduated from Cardiff College and served in the Royal Artillery. Inspired by the success of his fellow Welshman, Richard Burton, he then studied at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. Not long after, he caught the attention of the legendary Sir Laurence Olivier, who invited him to join the Royal National Theatre and became a mentor for him in the years to come. The rest, as they say, is history. Sir Anthony is widely regarded as the consummate actor of our time. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth in 1993 for a lifetime of service to the arts. He has lived now for many years in Southern California and has, of course, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yet his talent is not limited to the theater. He is also a painter, a poet, a pianist, and a composer. He encouraged me the other day when I first met him to call him Tony, but I can't bring myself to do that. But maybe I will. It is an honor to have him with us today, and I now ask you to welcome Tony Hopkins.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that introduction. I think I'll go home now. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Can you hear me at the back without a mic? No. Okay, you can't hear me. Okay, so oh God, there's a big crowd there. Okay, so you can hear me now. All right. Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I know this area. I don't know this area particularly well, but I know Ojai. I lived in Ojai for about 5 months, and just to come over to Santa Paula, and the other day I was driving past and I saw the chapel tower. And so I called in here, and I've never seen such a beautiful place in my life. It's the most amazing. It's like Shangri-La. What's astounding is that the way it's been cultivated, the lawns, it must have done a lot of fertilizing on those lawns because it's so beautiful. I mean, it's extraordinary, and then the tower itself. And so anyway, I'm here, and I was invited by Anne and Michael, President, to come and speak here. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but maybe you want to ask me questions. I spend a lot of time, or have done, with students in the acting facility, in UCLA and Santa Monica College, and I don't teach. I just stand and they ask me questions, and I fill them in. So that's what I'm here for. I feel very privileged to be at such a place because When I started in South Wales as a young boy, I wasn't too clever in school, which was a great gift in a way because it made me ambitious to do something with my life. And I was just one of those students who just didn't fit in at all. But I look back on it with no regret. I look back on it with a great sense of gratitude because it more or less coerced me into finding something in my life, either music or painting or art or, I guess, the humanities. And eventually I became an actor. I wanted to be a composer, but I drifted into the acting profession by mistake, really. And it's a strange offshoot because now I've finally come back to composing. And not blowing my own trumpet, I hope not, but my wife encouraged me to do that because I played piano every day and all this sort of thing. And she said, you should write this down and do something with it. I said, well, I don't want to. She said, well, but what can they do if it doesn't work? Put you in jail? And she encouraged me to paint, so here I am. But I don't say that as a kind of ego thing, I hope not. Anyway, I'm just fortunate to have been pointed in a direction. And I still act him. They shaved my head. I'm about to play Alfred Hitchcock in a movie about the making of Psycho, so soon. I've been busy working. My wife suggested I come up here, and not to this college, but to Ojai for a little rest. And so I found your beautiful campus, and was invited to talk here, so here we are. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe you want to ask me questions. So, I hear somebody did Macbeth lately, is that right? Who played Macbeth? Well, stand up. What's your name? What's your name? Huh?
Thomas.
Thomas. Who played your wife?
Maureen Ryland.
Is she here?
She is not.
Oh. Okay, well, any questions? Yeah.
Are you a method actor?
Am I a method actor?
Yeah, can you talk a little about the method as opposed to other techniques?
Well, I studied, am I a method actor? Stanislavski. I studied Stanislavski when I was in the Royal Academy. I'll just give you a potted history of my life. I went to, before I became an actor, I wanted to be a musician, and I got a scholarship to the Cardiff College of Music and Drama. This is hundreds of years ago, 1955. And wanted to be a musician, but I drifted into becoming an actor. And then later, I went to the Royal Academy, RADA, in 1961, which wasn't principally a kind of method school. It was very traditional speech, movement, diction, and all that, and the classics, which was good, very good grounding. But there were two guys who came to teach there, and they were, one was called Diat Malmgren, and the other was, his associate was Christopher Vettis, and they were Stanislavski based. So I got to know my way through Stanislavski. And at present, I'm having a long talk with the director who's going to direct this Hitchcock film, because I was talking about the spine of the script and the spine of the part of the objective and so on and so forth in the Hitchcock character. So I do, yes. I don't, I used to visit the Actors Studio in New York almost 40 years ago, and I listened to Lee Strasberg, and I've actually done some classes with Hagen. So yeah, I suppose you could say I'm a method actor. But I don't hide in the corner and not come out of my trailer until I'm ready, you know, none of that. I mean, I do believe in the principle of just learning your lines and showing up. Basically, that's what it was with Stanislavski said, the same thing. If you don't know the text, you can't even start dancing. You have to know the text so well. And when I'm with students, I say, just learn the text. David Mamet says the same thing, learn the text cold. Once you know the text, once you know the script, then you are free to improvise, do whatever you want. And I believe that what happens is that the more you learn the text, the more you learn the words, you set off movements in the subconscious mind. It sounds very strange, but it does happen. So yeah, I suppose I'm going to answer your question, yes.
Sir Hopkins,
Tom.
Tony. Could you speak to how you select a role that you are going to play? And I mean, I assume that you get more offers than you can possibly take up, in any given year. How do you select, and what do you look for in a character to play?
Well, I have a good agent. And he will submit to me a script. Now, you may say, maybe you're not interested in this, or, he'll pass on and he says, well, do you want to read it? And I'll read it. And I usually take his advice if he thinks it's not a good idea. And I do believe that an agent can be very helpful. I'm fortunate with a very, very good agent in LA. But it's an instinct, it's a feeling. For example, I'm doing this film about Alfred Hitchcock, and I started in 2 weeks' time. And it's an interesting premise. It's supposed to be about the making of Psycho. But basically what it is, it's about Hitchcock himself, Alfred Hitchcock. And, the original story of Psycho was based on an actual murder that took place in Wisconsin by a man called Ed Gein, 1945. And this book was bought, and everyone advised Hitchcock not to do it, because it was a kind of bleak horror movie. It was at Hitchcock's very interesting time in his life. But it's not basically about that. It's about Hitchcock's psychology. He felt very disappointed in his life. So, reading the script, I wasn't too sure. It was 4 years ago. Then I kept coming back, and then this very good director called Sasha Gavassi, who did a documentary called Anvil. I don't know if you've seen a documentary on the heavy metal group from Canada. But he's such an enthusiast, and I thought, yes, I'll do it. And there's another script I've got, which is, well, it just depends. If the part that they ask you to read sort of jumps out at you quickly off the page, and your instinct is right, then you do it. And sometimes you'll just go against your judgment, against your instinct, and do something that doesn't really work. Not always, but I think or intuition is a very good signal. And the notorious part of Hannibal Lecter, I read that script in an afternoon, and I thought, yeah, that's him. I knew it, and I didn't know why. I'm not him, but don't think so. But and immediately I thought, that's the dark at the top of the stairs. I like those parts that are very dark and mysterious. Not because I'm that myself, but I'm interested in the Jungian shadow, if you can call it that, to make it sound very dark. So it's mostly instinct. Yeah.
I was wondering, you were mentioning how reading the script can get into your subconscious. And I was wondering how, if you successfully get into the mind of the role that you're supposed to play, how does that affect your life in the real world?
How does working on a part get into subconscious?
Yes.
Well, does it affect my life? No, not really, at all. Except I become obsessed by it, I'm learning Hitchcock at the moment, so I'm going, good evening. So I talk to the director, and he says, hi, good afternoon. But no, you don't. And yet in a strange way, the obsession is enough that's why I'm here actually, to get away from the script, because, too much working too hard at it isn't good, so you give the brain a rest. But when I say it gets into the subconscious mind, it does. You begin to intuit and how to play certain lines, how to play a part, and you just go for it. You go for the flow of it. It's very interesting about the method question you asked. When Anna Strasberg, Lee Strasberg's daughter, what was her name? Anna Strasberg? Was it Anna Strasberg? Susan Strasberg. She was playing The Diary of Anna Frank in New York. And her father was out front, and she gave a performance for him, and she was emoting everything, and she was feeling everything. And the audience at the end gave her a very polite applause, but that was all. She expected standing ovations. So her father came back to the dressing room, Lee Strasberg, the great method teacher, and she said, what do you think? She said, yeah, it was good. She said, that's all? She said, yeah, it's good. Didn't say any more, didn't pay her any big compliments. She was so angry. And she went on stage a few weeks later, and she did the performance, and it was cold. She couldn't feel anything. She didn't feel anything. And she didn't know that her father was out front. And he came backstage. He said, that was the best performance you've ever done. She said, I didn't. She said, well, it's still the best performance you... Just because you feel something doesn't mean to say you're being good. And Stanislavski said the very same thing. If on Monday night you're playing Othello and you don't feel, and you know you've given a great performance, then on Tuesday nights you don't feel it, you can't say stop. I think let's start. You can't say that. You've just got to go on sheer technique. So you have to know the technique. It's like dancing. It's like anything. You just have to work on technique. And you are lucky when suddenly some spark of inspiration hits you, and for no reason, and you take off, and people say, "Wow, what a performance!" And that happens sometimes. But it's not a science. I don't believe it is a science. But what it is, it's preparation. As Hamlet says, the preparation is all. Okay. Yeah.
How would you compare your stage experience with your film experience?
Comparing film experience to stage experience? Well, two different... I was very influenced by American actors when I was a young actor myself. I was influenced by people like Marlon Brando and James Dean and all those guys. And the older generation as well, Bogart and Spencer Tracy. I loved American film acting. The theatre acting is a much more stagey. Well, it is stagey. It's stagey. It's big, and it has its own reality. It's a different kind of reality. It's very interesting. When Stanislavski wrote his book on My Life in Art, can you hear me at the back? When Stanislavski wrote My Life in Art, he talked about Tommaso Salvini, the great Italian actor who was playing Othello. And he was such a devastating performance. He was in New York, for example, 1890s. This was many, many years ago, century. And people would faint in the audience. He was so spellbinding. Anyway, he arrived in Moscow with a tour. This is Thomas Salvini. And Stanislavski reports that he was sitting in the audience, and on came this very badly made-up fat guy, Tommaso Salvini. And people in the audience remember, is that Salvini, the great Othello? And he had a tremendous voice. And people were sort of murmuring, they think, well, this is a bit disappointing. He's sort of walking through the part. And they came to the Senate scene when he is accused of stealing Desdemona. And he makes that opening speech, "O most potent, grave and reverend signors, I most approve." And what he did, he just did that. And he held the audience in the palm of his hand for the whole play. Now that's a strange gesture, but a psychological gesture. According to Michael Chekhov, he just went that. "Most potent, grave and reverend signors." But I have taken away this old man's talk. That's what he did. That was the power of acting. And then Stanislavski asked me, he said, "What is the power of tragedy? What is the secret of tragedy?" And Salvini said, "Voice, and voice, and more voice." Meaning the deeper voice, the spiritual voice. Basically, that's what he was getting at. But that's something you cannot control or plummet unless you're relaxed and have years of experience. And then you begin to feel, I've been doing this a long time, so I feel relaxed in what I do. And that's the best psychological condition to be in any form of art, in any form, whether it's being music or... Anyway, yeah. Yes.
As a musician and composer, what would you say are your influences and inspirations?
As a composer, well, I'm a freewheeler as a composer. I write symphonic music. I don't know where it comes from. But I love, I guess I write something akin to the English romantics like Elgar and Delius. I don't know, just write this stuff and they seem to like it, so they perform it, and I say, okay. And so I don't have any influence. Maybe I've reached a happy stage in my life where I don't think about it. Too much analysis, you know, don't think about it, just do it. It's a pretty lazy way of working, maybe, but I do feel that by being prepared, whether it's in music or art or painting, I mean, I'm not a trained painter, but I paint, and they sell them. So go figure, I don't know. I act and I don't know what I'm doing half the time. Simply, yeah. Now, you know, try not to be concerned with it. It's a spiritual thing. Don't look for the results. Don't live in the payoff. Live in the moment. which is a spiritual principle. Live in the moment, and let the results take care of themselves. It's all in the hands of a higher power, God, whatever you want to go. It's in the hands of God. And I used not to believe that. It was all ego. And I've learned over the years, it's got nothing to do with me, because my life is none of my business. It's true as a principle. What am I doing here? I mean, I was just wandering down to Santa Paula the other day, and I saw this place, so what am I doing here? It's all strange matrix of destiny, and I don't know what it is, but it's... so my life is none of my business. It's all in the hands of God. Yes?
I've tried to do some Shakespeare, and all this Shakespeare stuff is in verse, and it ends up either sounding really jingly and sing-songy, especially when it's got rhyming couplets, or if I try to sound like a real person talking.
What Shakespeare have you done?
I've been in Midsummer Night's Dream and Twelfth Night and some other ones, and I've tried to recite Shakespeare sonnets in a somewhat this way. And
Well, the verses are what you're trying to say with that.
sorry, what?
What are you trying to say? What's the point? You're trying to make it.
How do you recite it so that you would be able to tell us in verse, or maybe that's not important, without it sounding,
So how do you make the verse sound real?
yeah, or if you make it sound real, is there a way to do that so that it maintains the beauty of the verse, or does it do it?
No, you relax within the verse. If you can, realize the structure of the verse and relax into it, it's like swimming or riding a bike. So that it makes it sound real by thinking it through as you go. You can't think through Shakespeare. You have to speak it and listen to the rhythm of it, and then it takes you over. And it's to make it sound real. You just speak it as if you believe it. If you're playing Hamlet and you're playing to be or not to be, then you just do it as a very thoughtful exercise instead of acting it, acting it out. And if you're doing Macbeth, don't act it. Just be it. To be or not to be. That is the question. It is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep, no more than by a sleep, to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, to sleep. A chance to dream. At that moment, I think the Hamlet, he drifts off because he's a weary soul. And when he goes into the second premise of to sleep, he just nods off at that moment. He just touches into the dream world and he sees something. He says, to die, to sleep, no more than by a sleep, to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. Then you take time to die, to sleep. To sleep, perchance to dream. At that moment of drifting into the subconscious, it's as if he senses what we all sense, just in that twilight zone. I don't mean da-da-da-da-da-da-da, but the twilight zone of when we just drift to sleep, images come. The image of death, the image of an afterlife. To sleep, perchance to dream, aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shelter of this mortal coil, must give us pause. Aye, there's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time?
Do you think that actors can learn from their characters as if it's their own life experience? And then if so, is there some defining lesson that you've learned
Can an actor learn from characters they've played?
Yeah, that's their own experience.
Well, I think it's an experience that can you learn. I think as you get older, and I'm getting older by the day, but I feel now that, you know, Macbeth, I played Macbeth when I was quite young, a long time ago. And I was okay in it, I was okay. Not good, not that good. But now, I feel it to be interesting to play him now at my age. Because the premise of playing Macbeth now, or Hamlet, whatever it is, because the ironic thing is when you're at the right age to play Hamlet, you're still too young and immature to play it. When you reach 100 years of age, or if you reach a certain age, you suddenly get the maturity of, now I can play it. Now I understand Macbeth better than I understood it then. That Macbeth, in fact, is because I have more life experience, a more emotional power, because I'm close to my mortality. That's the fact that we will all face one day. And therefore I can understand more about the deeper nature of a character like Macbeth. That he is a man who learns spiritually, a spiritual lesson too late. But when he sees the three weird sisters and they say, you could be king, he doesn't give it a thought, but it's deeply in his subconscious mind. He could have had that possibility. He's married to a younger woman, let us say, Lady Macbeth. And she has the powerful feminine instinct, but not the wisdom or the maturity to think before she acts. But Macbeth thinks, well, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twould you know, that speech. Do well, it were done quickly. And he thinks of it as a legal, logical, ethical argument. Then he steps into the abyss himself, and now I can understand that part, and maybe I'll play it one day, I don't know. Anyway, any other questions? Any kind of lighter questions? Go have some fun here. Yes. Is my mic working okay?
Yes.
Yeah? It's my favourite role? Well, Hannibal Lecter was the favourite role. Well, no. I say it with readily. I did C.S. Lewis, The Remains of the Day. But Lecter was just one of those parts that was fun. I know he's I'm not like that, but it was. I liked working with Jodie Foster. She was terrific, and Jonathan Demme. It was, you know, when you can work on a film and it can be miserable. But when you're working with a good director and a good fellow actor and doing that, it's terrific. I'm working with this very good director at the moment, Sasha Gavassi, and very nice guy. I'm working with Helen Mirren. She's playing my wife, and so it's, you know, it feels good. And that's my favourite, when you can come into the studio, do your work and go home. But sometimes it's not like that anymore, because films are getting less. They're now being overblown, you know, with too much money. And sometimes you do an independent film and you just get the essence of it, and it's an enjoyment. It's an enjoyable time to do it. And yeah, I did a film in New Zealand called The World's Fastest Indian, about a motorbike guy who becomes breaks the record at Salt Lake Flats, you know, and these are real characters. I had a great time doing that. Legends of the Fall, things like that. I think Remains of the Day was probably my favourite. And yes.
You say that it's more difficult to play the broad, sweeping roles like Hannibal Lecter or maybe Odin versus more personal roles, intimate roles like C.S. Lewis.
What was the part of the question?
Is it more difficult to play a kind of Wagnerian sweeping?
No, they're easy. Thor is easy. You just stand there in armour and they've got CGI behind you. I mean, that's, you know, you go and you go, where do I stand? You stand there, you point the camera, and okay, good night, thank you very much. C.S. Lewis or something like that, or this Hitchcock, they're much more difficult, yet much more enjoyable. What was the other? The Hannibal Lecter, that was enjoyable, you know, it was very, very well written. The answer is, if you have a really well-written part, it's a really well-written character to play, then it makes it easy. You don't have to, sort of no acting required, really. Well, you do have to do a bit of work, you know, but if the script is really good, you don't have to push, you don't have to exert. The thing is to do it as simply as possible. Yeah. Any other questions? At the back there? Naomi.
Were the reasons why you became an actor the same reasons why you remain an actor?
Sorry?
Were the
the reason I became an actor and the reason I'm still an actor? Well, because they paid me well, and no, I enjoyed it. I've had a great life as an actor. I mean, it beats working for a living. I say it is. I mean, you know, I haven't done a stroke of work in my life. You think? I mean, I get up in the morning, go to the studio, get changed, put somebody else's clothes on, and stand in front of a camera and act or whatever I do, and then I go home at night. But I know it's more than that. People say it must be hard work. Well, it's not really. I mean, in the studio, you stand around. Most of the time, you're paid to wait, and then you do a little bit of filming here, a little bit of. Well, I love to read, so I read, and you know, then go on the set and do my little number. But it's enjoyable. I love it. It's as Laurence Olivier said, it's the sugar pill to knowledge. I've received my whole education through acting. It's opened up areas of reading that I'd never dreamed of. It's opened up readings of philosophy, religion, C.S. Lewis, reading all the great spiritual literature of C.S. Lewis, for example, and so on and so forth. So it's the sugar pill of knowledge. I've learned so much. It's been the greatest education I could have received. I mean, I've traveled all over the place and seen different cultures and, you know, been everywhere. And opened up my eyes to history and modern history, and events of history. And that's why I've remained an actor, because A, I can't do anything else, except I read a bit of music as a hobby, and they happen to play it. But, I mean, I may sound very flip about it, but I think, you know, you reach a certain time in your life, you think, well, don't take it all so seriously. I can't take myself seriously. I mean, when I say to actors, someone says, they actually pay us to do this? And, but it sounds cynical, that, but it's not cynical. I respect acting, I respect what I do, I respect the profession I'm in. It may have its weird ways, Hollywood and the red carpet and all that, that's okay, but I respect actors and I respect the work they do, and directors, and I respect the film crews more than anyone. Those are the guys who really put it together. That's the joy of it, that's the sheer enthusiasm and passion I have for it. And it has been a great education working with students, whether it's on Shakespeare or, you know, just doing a little scene like Hamlet or Macbeth or something. I've learned so much about my own psychology and understanding of my own self. And there seems to be a kind of link in my past which gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I was teaching at a place in Los Angeles about 6 weeks ago, dealing with that scene on Othello. And for some reason, as I was describing it, I got terribly emotional. And I didn't realize why. But it's all to do with a link. It's some soul thing, I don't know what it is. But you know, when you get moved by life, and I'm constantly moved now by just the sheer power of existence, that God in me as me is me. You know, I don't understand any of it, but it's all a dream to me. It's like they are not long, the days of wine and roses, out of a misty dream, a path emerges for a while and closes within the dream. That's the essence of it all. Anyway, getting very serious. Yes?
Can you say the line to us about eating the leaves and
About what? The fava beans on, though. Do you have a good psychiatrist you can talk to? I get asked that question so often. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice candy. Okay, now.
I read a quote once where you said how you enjoy being in America and you love the people there and you like to give back to them by your acting. And I'm just curious, do you prefer America or England?
Well, I'm not going to give you the politically incorrect answer. I know I love going back to England. But I came out here many, many years ago, in the 1970s, and I went through a kind of crisis in my life, and I found the answer. I won't go into that detail, but I found a kind of spiritual answer to it, and changed my life. And it's been a long time. So I regard, there's something numinous about California. I don't know what it is. I don't know, I have no theories about existence, but as a child I remember, because I said I was educationally not very bright at school, I have this very powerful memory of my own childhood. And I remember the sunny days in Wales, and I had pneumonia, and I nearly died. And I remember hearing Bing Crosby singing on the radio. Those old, long before any of you were born. And I was raised on American movies, like the Bogart movies. And I remember, I think it was somebody singing, California, Here I Come. And there was another, Train to Pasadena. And these little images were in my mind at a very young age. And then I wanted to become an actor, and I met Richard Burton. And he was from my hometown, and I went and asked him for his autograph. And I was so nervous. And he signed my autograph book. And this was before he married Elizabeth Taylor. And the oddest thing was, as I left his house, I thought, I want to be like him. 20 years later, I was standing in the dressing room of the theatre in New York where I played Equus by Peter Schaffer's play. And who had taken over from me was Richard Burton. Very strange kind of connection of destiny. But in that period, I came out to California in 1973 to do a film with Goldie Hawn. And I remember, it was November 1973, and I remember it was raining on a Saturday night when I arrived, and I'd never been here before. And I woke up in the hotel early Sunday morning, and I went up on Sunset Boulevard. I thought, I've never been in any place like this. This is another world. And I loved the climate. I loved everything about it. And I thought, I'm home. And I finished my movie. Then I went back to England, and all I wanted to do was come back here. And then strange things made that possible. I went to New York to do a play called Equus. And then an agent said, would you like to come to California? And I knew it was going to be. I just knew it was a sort of sense of destiny of some kind. And I came, I can still get into the car today and drive wherever it is in Los Angeles. I love it. I just love this climate. It's like the land of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. But I like it because it's so free and easy. Everything in England is a little bit uptight, you know. That's okay. But I'm a rebel. I came from Wales, so I probably didn't feel being part of that society. You know? I certainly didn't feel part of the theatre. I just didn't fit in. It's one of the quirks of my nature. So over here, I feel I fit in everywhere. I feel relaxed. I feel relaxed and at peace with myself. It's been many years now. And then I come up to Ohio for a little vacation, and I feel even more mystified by it all. The numinosity, I guess it is. Yes, something magical. Yeah.
What was it like playing Zorro?
It was like playing Zorro. Well, I didn't get the girl. Well, my agent said, do you want to play Zorro? I said, you're crazy. Zorro? He said, you played the original Zorro. I said, are they crazy? He said, well, you play an old Zorro. I said, oh yeah, what? He's Antonio Banderas. He's good. I said, so I hand on the mantle to Amicia. I said, okay. I had a great time. And Antonio's a nice guy to spoken. Catherine Zeta-Jones, she comes from my home area in Wales. It was a lot of fun. Did all my own stunts. Why are you laughing? Yeah.
Who's been the greatest actor you've ever had the chance to work with? And also, how was the whole being knighted thing?
How was he? I worked with Laurence Olivier. He was pretty good. I suppose all of you are too young to remember Laurence Olivier. Do you know who Laurence Olivier is? Well, he was one of the greatest actors of his time, you know. And I had the great privilege of working with him, and I worked with Albert Finney and Catherine Hepburn and Peter O'Toole. These great actors. Well, Hepburn was interesting. Yeah, she was really quite a firebrand. She was. We did Lion and Winter together. That was my first movie, so I couldn't believe when I was standing with her in the very first scene I had with her. And I thought, I'm standing here with Katharine Hepburn. And we did a rehearsal, it was a camera rehearsal. The scene is where she's unwrapping Christmas presents on. We have this long scene. I thought, I can't believe I'm standing here talking to this woman who's worked with Humphrey Bogart and Spencer Tracy Orr. So we did the rehearsal, and she said, can I ask you a question? She said, let me give you a tip, don't act. I said, what? She said, you don't have to act, don't act. I said, okay, don't act. They paid me an actor on my contract. She just speak the lines. She watched Spencer Tracy, watched Humphrey Bogart. She said it did the best, you know. Watch James Cagney and me. And I took that as a great compliment, as a great tip, because she passed on a little bit of advice. I'd always admired American film actors. And that was it. She was great. She was tough, but not. She was very tough on everyone if they didn't treat people with respect. The crew, the film crew, worshipped her because she was kind to everyone, you know. And I took a lesson from that. She paid total respect to the film crew. She had no time for producers or directors. And she made sure everyone ate properly, and you know, we were down south of France in the heat and all that. She made sure everyone had water. And she was, I liked her. She was a good old warrior. Wouldn't like to cross the bar. Yeah.
Do you find that the ability to act affects your ability to be sincere in anything else?
Oh, do I find my ability to act affects my ability to be sincere? I don't know. Well, let me put it this way. It's a very dangerous area. Acting is a very dangerous world to be in a way, if you're not careful, because you can forget who you are. And if you're in Hollywood, you make tons of money, and power, and prestige, and publicity, you start believing I breathe special air. You go mad. And there are people like that. Who, you know, you read about them in the papers, they're nuts. Not all of them, most of the ones I've worked with are terrific. But it's a question of the ego. You just have to be careful to know who you are and what you do. Because it's to be present. Mentioning Katharine Hepburn. Most actors I know are pretty good. You know, they don't seem to have airs and graces. But it's very interesting when you start seeing people doing that to someone on props or makeup. That's a very dangerous area, because then you lose contact with reality. And it's not just acting, you know it, you see it in business. And you become a CEO and you treat people around you like rubbish. I hope I've been around long enough to realize that I enjoy being an actor. I enjoy being here. I enjoy talking to you because I enjoy being asked questions. I don't think it's insincere for me to feel a connection. I had some experience many years ago when I was really completely out of control of my life, and I was killing myself. And I found through a way of just communicating with people, being part of something, part of a group, part of connectability, connection with people, because that's the most important grounding you can have. And I must say, my father, I've got a funny story, my father was a baker. And he's a real meat and potatoes guy. He was a tough guy, and he came from a tough background through the Depression years. And I admired him so much. We didn't get on all the time, but I remember I was doing a play in the National Theatre, Laurence Olivier, and Joan Plowright, Laurence Olivier's wife, and we did this play. My father and mother came to see the play, and they came back to the dressing room, and my father and Laurence Olivier came to the dressing room. Sir Laurence Olivier. So my father went a very funny colour because he was kind of a little nervous, you know. He lit a cigarette, and my mother went to pieces, and I said, Sir Laurence, this is my mother. I said, hello, Mrs. Hopkins, Mr. Hopkins. My father said, out of reflex, he said, how old are you? And Olivia said, I was born in 1907. Same age as me, my father said. Both going down the hill now, aren't we? He said. Meaning that, you know, we haven't much time to learn. But it was meant, but my mother said, that was Sir Lawrence Olivier. He said, well, he breathes air just like me, doesn't he? And I'll never forget that. He breathes oxygen just like me. And that's it, is to realize that everyone is human and frail. And it's being present. I like meeting young people because I'm not young myself. Well, young in spirit, but not in chronology. But I like being with young people. I like connecting with people because it's a life force, and it feeds me. I know of people who cannot communicate. They have bodyguards around them, you know, and they have an entourage, and nobody's allowed to talk to them. Well, okay, if that's what they want. But it's a terrible life, I think, because you can't function. You cannot function, and it is all about the ego. The most powerful force is the ego, and it's a killer. You need it. It's the burr under the saddle that keeps you moving, but you have to be in control of it, and constantly on guard against it, you know. And to not make demands, but make requests, and be respectful. And I think that's all. I mean, I'm very fortunate. Woke up this morning, how fortunate I am to have had the life I have. I hope I have some more years left, but I am very fortunate. You know, as I said, I haven't done a stroke of work in my life. I haven't, you know, but I love life. I just love it because it's brought me here. So I can't have airs and graces about it, you know. And we were having a line-up and I was meeting people. You know, people straight in the air, what's your name? And, you know, it's important. So I hope I'm sincere. Sincere. Yeah.
Do you find it more difficult to play parts that are based on real life or that have been played by other actors before?
Do I find it difficult to play parts that have been played by other actors before?
Or that are taken from real life?
Oh, that's the same question. Well, it's, no, to play parts that are in real life, I played Nixon, President Nixon, but people knew him. But I thought, well, I was a bit nervous playing that, but it seemed to work out. They are difficult sometimes because, especially if they're known on film, like Alfred Hitchcock and Nixon or whoever, but no, they're not really difficult. Nothing's that difficult, unless you make it difficult. People make things difficult because they choose to, yes. How much time have we got, okay?
Do you have any roles that you regret?
Oh, lots. I won't mention those. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
Yes. Are we going to see you in the Avengers? Or is it?
The Avengers? No. I'm doing Thor 2. Go back to England to do that in, I think in August. Then, have you seen Red? Yeah. I'm doing the second version of that. I do Thor number 2 in England in August, and then straight after that I'm doing Red number 2 with Morgan Freeman, no, not with Morgan Freeman, but with Bruce Willis and Helen Mirren, who's playing my wife in this one. So it'll be a bit of fun. I haven't read the script yet. I play a crazy scientist who's placed an atom bomb inside the Kremlin. And they've locked him up in a prison in England because he's insane. But they get me out. And he's not insane at all. He's just a very clever guy who's played around with setting people off against each other. And I don't know what the story is yet, but apparently he said, I just want to see the bomb go off to see if it works. So I don't know, it's going to be an interesting one, a bit of fun with Bruce. Yeah.
Have you ever turned down a role and then seen the movie and said, "No, I wish I didn't"?
Have I turned down a role and seen the movie?
And then said, "I wish I'd taken that role. That was a really good role."
No. I've never turned down anything. No, I do turn down things. But I've seen, yeah, I turned them down for a reason. I can't remember if I have. I have turned them down for a good reason because, you know, if you're not suited for it, and if it's not the right rhythm, and you've got to know yourself as an actor. And I've done roles, to answer the question, which I've been embarrassed by. I'm not, you know, I've never been the kind of guy who's played the romantic lead because it's not in my nature. I don't feel comfortable with that. I leave that to the good-looking, pretty boys, you know. No disrespect. But I've always felt uncomfortable, you know. And I've always felt, because I don't know, it's a part of my nature. I don't like smoochy stuff.
I
Yes.
think your performance has Wondering, do you have a favorite role that you played where you think your performance is the best?
Oh, I never know about performance. Well, that was one of my favorite ones, working with James Ivory and Emma Thompson. Yeah, I thought that was one of the most pleasant experiences of all. It was an easy role to play. Somebody said, how'd you play a butler like that? I said, well, you don't shout, and you don't run around, you just walk very slowly and speak very quietly. People have these things, how'd you play Hannibal Lecter? I said, I don't know, just speak quietly. Or, how'd you... It's very simple, but say, how'd you play a butler? Well, good evening. I don't know. It's so easy. Charles Bronson, who played Death Wish. Do you remember Charles Bronson in Death Wish? He plays a lawyer who kills people. Well, the producers had a big problem with Charles Bronson playing a lawyer. And Michael Winner, who was the director, he said, well, what's the problem? He said, well, he doesn't look like a lawyer. Well, give him a briefcase and he looked like a lawyer. And it's true. So you give Charles Bronson, he looks royal, give him a briefcase and a pen or something, he looks like a lawyer. And people have this weird stuff, he can't play that because he looks different, because people have their own agendas. It's very odd. But anyway, yes, I enjoyed playing these videos. Are we okay for time? Are you okay?
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experience playing C.S. Lewis and
C.S. Lewis?
reading his works.
And what?
And reading his books.
Oh, well, I read Surprised by Joy, which is by biography long before I got the part of C.S. Lewis, and then I worked with Richard Attenborough before, the director, and he phoned me, he said, would you like to play C.S. Lewis? And I didn't know the play, and then I said, okay. And so I read the script, and it was such a well-written script. I found it very moving. And I wasn't quite sure what to do. I mean, I wasn't sure what, and then I met Deborah Winger. It was easy. It was, not a difficult part to play. The thing is about restraint, It's very odd about acting because Deborah Winger is a very nice woman, she's terrific, powerful, as a performer. It's very odd. I remember when she's dying in the scene, and I'm sitting by the bed, and now it doesn't make any sense. Hamlet says, "What's he to heck about her? Because it's he that he should drown the world with tears." And I thought, there's Deborah in bed, pretending to be dying, and I'm pretending to be a husband, pretending to be grief-stricken, and you actually feel the grief for some reason. And I don't know why that is. I think that happens if you're in a state of neutrality and relaxation or something. And the most difficult one I had was, I can't even remember the lines, but there's a scene right at the end after she's dead, and he's in C.S. Lewis is in his common room with that young student. And I have to go to the window, it's the end of the film, and there's a line about youth and age. And, well, we started doing that, and I just broke down and cried, and I couldn't understand why. And I don't know what it was, it's just something to do with that very afternoon. It's a beautiful day in Oxford, there's a beautiful tree out there. And I hadn't experienced any death or grief in some years, but for some reason it hit me. The nature of life, the peculiar transitory nature of life, the fragility of life, how without a warning it can be over. And I suppose that had an effect on me, and they kept the line in, but I got all choked up. And they said, okay, that's it. And I couldn't speak the line. It's one of those things, you can't explain it. It can happen for no reason. But you just go with it. But it's an enjoyable part to play, yes. Anyone else? Yes?
You mentioned learning through your work as an actor. Can you tell me, how has your approach to life changed through your acting experience? Or has it?
How is what?
Your approach to life, has it changed through your acting experience?
Yes. Well, you just get older and you live long enough, you'll change. If you don't, you may as well die. Go or grow. You have to change. And I've realized over the years that I've gone through many changes in my life. Many changes, because that's the nature of life. And if you don't go with it, you may as well die, really. You may as well be dead. I know people who live in the past, they just live back there all the time, talking about something that happened to them 30 years ago. They're like zombies. And I can't hang out with those people. I know them, but I can't spend more than 5 minutes with them because I feel like suicide at the end of it, because I feel so guilty about being happy when they're so miserable. Because it's life's in session. For many years, I thought life was a big rehearsal for the big event. And somebody in Los Angeles said, Tony, this is the big event. Life is in session. You know, we spend so much time thinking it's a rehearsal for the big event, the big red carpet in the sky. And it's not. And what I realize now, let's say, without being cynical, there's a wonderful thing in our famous Scottish play, when Macbeth, when he realizes that his wife has committed suicide, he said, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, creeps in this petty pace from day to day, to the last syllable of recorded time. What's the rest of the line?
All our yesterdays, lighted fools, the way to dust to death.
And all our yesterdays have lighted fools, the way to dust to death. Out, brief hang, life's but a poor player.
Life's but a walking shadow.
Life's but a walking shadow, thank you very much. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And in a way, in that cynical acceptance of philosophy, because we don't know, nobody's the arbiter of truth, because we don't know, it's a wonderful, relaxing quality to think, well, this is it. And when I get over serious about my work, or I see people getting upset about a movie, I say it's only a movie. It's a movie. Do you know the actor Bob Hoskins? You know, he was in that the Cotton Club. I remember Fred Gwynne was playing Fred Monsanto. Anyway, they would become friends on the phone, and there was a lot of problem on this film with Coppola, and a lot of argument, a lot of money, and a lot of terrible things happening. And Bob was getting upset, and Fred Gwynne, his pal, told him, he said, Bob, it's just a movie. Don't get so... And that's what life is, it's just life. It's like, there's a wonderful line from, was it Prufrock? Yes, I did. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker. And in short, I was afraid. I love that. Anyone else?
Thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. You can see that the students and the faculty loved it, greatly enjoyed it. We have a small token of our appreciation to present you, and we'd like you to know that you're welcome to come back anytime to visit us again. So good luck and Godspeed. Thank you. Godspeed to you all. Thank you very much.